go ahead and call this work session to order. At this time, a roll call.
Alex Cantu, present.
Mary Hernandez, present.
Alda Benavides, present.
Nereida Cantu, present.
Espio Ochoa, present.
And with that, Dr. Science, I do declare a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Salinas. Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone.
Do we have any public comments, Doc?
Yes, we do have a public comment. We have Mr. JJ Luna, Union Organizer, La Jolla AFT, Local 4632.
Okay, welcome, Mr. Luna. And you've been with us before, so the 3 minute, and we'll have our legal, Mr. Flores, if he's available, to take time on the 3 minutes.
I don't see Mr. Flores, but I see Mr. Munoz. So Mr. Munoz, if you will please do that.
Okay. Are you ready, Mr. Luna?
I am. Thank you.
All right, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Science, and members of the community. My name is JJ Luna, and I'm a union organizer for La Jolla AFT, Local 4632. And I am here today to speak on behalf of my members, about almost 1,300 of them, on your plan that you all have on item number 6 on this changes that are going to be done to the La Jolla campus instruction transition plan. Over the last couple of days, I have been getting many calls, many text messages. I get communications, all types, Messenger, WhatsApp, all types. So, and teachers are concerned of going back on what they saw. I mean, there was a plan out there, somebody leaked out, and it has a coming back day for everyone of April the 4th, which is also the wrong date. It's supposed to have been April the 5th. And it got them all riled up, all upset that this is going to happen. I know that some folks have been getting vaccinated. Things are getting a little better. I checked the Hidalgo County website this morning, and we still have over 200 new cases, 7 deaths. Even 1 death is too many. I mean, you all had a moment of silence last meeting for a couple of I don't know if that student from Diaz de Real passed away from COVID or not, pero you know, Mr. Hernandez, and we have lost several employees in the school district due to the virus. And throughout the county, I mean, over, what is it, about a year now that all of this started? I mean, we have lost a total of 2,694 people, and that is too many. And teachers are concerned of going back. I'm going to read a statement that was sent to me by Ms. Salinas, our local president. Ms. Salinas says, our members are very worried since not all teachers have been vaccinated. It's very difficult to teach all day with a mask and monitor students that are in school receiving remote instruction. These last 2 months are very critical to make sure teachers focus on all students' academic progress. What is the rationale behind all teachers returning back on April the 5th? Also, as you all know, many teachers, and maybe even some of you have kept your children at home. Some of them are young age school children. If the teachers, they have decided not to send them to schools because of the virus. And
thank you, Mr. Luna. Your time
will be making is a crucial decision. So, plus, also, last thing I want to say is I just want to thank you all for all the support that you've been giving the staff and the community over the past year. It's been awesome, overwhelming support that you all have been doing. So, thank you all very much. And I hope you all make a good decision tomorrow. Thank you. You all have a good one.
Thank you, Mr. Luna. Okay, moving on right along. Next one be discussion of the extension to the 2020-21 average daily attendance hold harmless provision.
Thank you, Mr. Salinas. Mr. Joel Trevino, Assistant Superintendent for CNI, will speak on this, which is new information received by districts last week from the Texas Education Agency on how school districts will receive their funding for the second semester of the 2020-2021 school year. Thank you, Mr. Trevino. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Science. Today, we'll be talking about the new information that came about after Governor Abbott's notification on March 4th. Right here on this slide, we see a snapshot of where Texas is as of January 29th, 2021. As we can see and this represents where Texas stands for student on-campus instruction, attending us on campus. As of October 30th, 2020, 54% of students in Texas were attending on campus. As of January 29, we're at 56%. That says that 44% of students in Texas are still attending school remotely, okay? If we move on to the next page, on this page, we have here a spreadsheet that was provided to us by TEA, and this is where it shows what I selected here was the Hidalgo County school districts within the Hidalgo County, and as you can see, they're highlighted. La Jolla is the on campus, as on the PIM snapshot, which was October 30th. We had 112 students on campus enrollment, and those students represent the Head Start students, just for your information on that. We reported a total of 26,532 students. That gives us a 0.4% of on-campus attendance. Our region is one of the lowest in the state. And of course, as you can see, we are one of the lowest in our region. And this is only the districts here in Hidalgo County, okay? The next slide, we basically same information, just saying that La Jolla this is where we stand as of October 29th. We are at 2,094 out of the 26,532, which is 8%. The 0.4 there is what we had back in October 30th. Our numbers are going up a little bit, but not as high as we're going to need them based on the new regulations that came out. And we'll be discussing those in the next page. Okay. This is an analysis of our average daily attendance. As you can see, we have week 1, first 6 weeks, and second 6 weeks. Our current ADA for those 2 6 weeks is at 23,530. What do we have available? Well, we have, and this was made available to us since the beginning of the school year. We have the hold harmless available using the 2018-2019 data, average daily attendance. So what is going to happen for the first and the second 6 weeks? Well, TA will be using the hold harmless ADA if the average of the first and the second 6 weeks falls below the 24,103. That is our hold harmless number, 24,103 in average daily attendance. So as you can see, for the first and the second, our calculated ADA is 23,530. So our hold harmless will be applied. Okay. For the third,
Mr. Trevino, to just state is that, so this right here, the 24,103 is what our funding would be based on, because our current ADAs were lower than that. So that is an allowance that TA is making. So we would be funded at the higher rate than our own attendance for the first, second, and third 6 weeks.
And on the third 6 weeks, our current ADA is 23,352. Of course, we always had the hold harmless available on this one. We had to submit a waiver, but for the process now would be that in order for TA to apply the hold harmless for us, we need to meet the requirements as announced on the March 4th, 2021 by Governor Greg Abbott, which makes reference to the 0.4 and and I'm sorry, I didn't mention the 20.6. Do you want to go back to that page, Mr. Munoz? Right there. That 20.4%. That is a target that we as a district need to meet in order for us to qualify for the hold harmless for the 4th, 5th, and 6 weeks. And we'll discuss that in the following slides. Apologize for that. So this is one of the criteria, and I'm going to highlight how the hold harmless will be applied for our district. For the 6 weeks, students who are marked present on campus at least a third of the days taught over the course of the 6 weeks will be designated as campus participants. And that number will be divided by the total number of eligible students attending during the 6 weeks. Now, in our 6 weeks, the 6 weeks, we have a total of 32 days of instruction. So that means that our students to be counted on campus, they need to attend at least 12 days. So they can be counted as one of the students on campus. Okay. On to the next page. So here is what we have to meet. I'm sorry. To receive the hold harmless for the 4th through 6 weeks, your campus participation rate for the 6 week period has to exceed 80% or the October 30 false PEEM snapshot, the 0.4. Okay, and I apologize for that. It should be 0.4, not 0.04. Okay, so and then the next item, TEA is giving folks another bite at the apple for the 3rd 6 weeks. And to receive the hold harmless for the 3rd 6 weeks, the campus participation rate for the 6 week period has to exceed 90% or TEA's calculated target of 20.4, the number that we showed on the previous slide. Student attendance of 5,450 students must be present on campus. So in order for us to qualify for the hold harmless. So, and just remember that out of those 5,450, they have to be on campus at least 1/3 of the instructional days.
So that means that those 5,000, we have to have 5,450 students on campus starting the 6 weeks begins April 19th.
Yes. So, and that is the number, the magic number of an ADA of enrollment that needs to be at our campus.
Mr. Trevino, 80%, I mean, compared to the northern part of the state, I mean, with the capacity of ourselves, are they already at those numbers or close to those numbers?
And let me correct, let me just clarify. The 80%, sir, that will not apply to us. What would apply to us is the October 30 fall PEEM snapshot.
Okay.
Okay,
And
it's
just, just for clarification, there
yeah.
are districts in the state, in other parts of the state, that are at 80 and 90%. So yes, not in Hidalgo County, because we all remember that in Hidalgo County for several months, we had really high hospitalization rates, higher than in other areas. So other areas were able to bring in a lot more students. So yes, there are districts in the state that are at 80 and 90% of their kids on campus, not in Hidalgo County. In Hidalgo County, I think there was some that at 40 and 30%, but most districts are lower than that in Hidalgo County.
Because this is just around the corner. And I mean, going from, I think it's 20.4 to 80. Am I correct, Mr. Trevino?
No, sir. The 20.4 is for us. That is what the target that TEA has given us, so that we can qualify for the hold harmless for the 3rd 6 weeks.
Yeah, but I guess my question is, it's going to be real hard to get it 80% between now and that. Am I correct, Dr. Sainz?
No.
Yes, but we don't have to get to 80%, Mr. Salinas, because it says or. So what we have to get to is we have to get to 20.4% by April 19th.
Which we already are at 20%,
No.
20.4.
No,
Right
Er,
now we are, right now we are at 0.8% because we are averaging about 2,000
Oh, I
kids
see.
on campus. So right now we are at 8%.
so we need to get to 5,450 by April 19th.
Yes,
And just to clarify, in order for the student to be counted as on campus, they need to be present only 12 days out of the
12
6
days.
months?
yes, 12 days of the 6 weeks. And that's a little bit, we might say lenient, but the thing is that right now with the hardships and kids and staffs having to sometimes go into quarantine, that is the reason that they are allowing, and they are saying that if students are on campus at least a third of the number of days in the 6 weeks, you can count them as one of your on-campus kids.
And the other reason, Dr. Science and Board of Trustees, is because they're factoring that in some of our high schools, because of the size and the enrollment, they are participating, they're doing is the hybrid schedule. And with the hybrid schedule, they only go 40% of the week. So because of that, right, this allowance would allow our high school students to meet that requirement because of the hybrid.
Thank you. And that is the plan that we have for our high schools. Our high schools were approved by TA through a waiver to be on campus for less than daily instruction. So already our high school kids are coming in less days than the 6 weeks. And we did that so that we at one time did not have all high school kids in the building. So they are on alternate schedule already, those that are coming in.
Dr. Science, how does, if we don't meet this requirement or this percentage of 20.4, how does that affect our district?
What would affect is we would get funding at the lower ADA. So let's say, for example, if we could go back, Mr. Munoz, to the slide. And we don't have the attendance for 4th, 5th, and 6th weeks, right? Or the current ADA, but let's say that our ADA would be at 23,500. We would get funded at that ADA instead of the 24,103 kids. So we would still get funded, but we would be funded at a lower ADA. And so we would lose money.
How much roughly, Dr. Science or Mr. Trevino, around so that our board can get an estimate if we were not to meet like Dr. Cantu was asking?
Hold on. Let me just.
I mean, I know it's gonna be hard, without, but just roughly.
That's 751.
We're talking about maybe a $5 to $6 million less.
That's a lot.
Not so bad. It's an approximation there.
For that particular 6 weeks, for the 6th 6 weeks.
Or it would be for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th 6 weeks.
Oh, all the way, 3rd, 4th,
Yes.
and
Let me clarify that one, Dr. Science. The way I'm understanding that this one is the 3rd 6 weeks is based on the 20.4. We have to meet that one.
Yes, because that's
And
a
then
separate
the
waiver.
4th and 6 weeks is the 0.4%.
so it would affect the 4th, 5th, and 6th 6 weeks.
The 0.4. If you go back to page 8, Mr. Munoz. See, to receive the hold harmless for the 4th through 6 weeks, your on-campus participation rate for the 6 weeks period has to exceed the October 30 fall speed snapshot of 0.4. That applies for the 3rd, 4th, and 4th, 5th, and 6 weeks. In order for us to get the hold harmless for that 3rd 6 weeks, we have to meet the exceed the 20.4. Or meet that 20.4.
And the $5-6 million that you said, Mr. Boyd, that would be per 6 weeks or in total, 4th, 5th, and 6th?
It's in total. It's in total, and it all depends basically what our ADA would be for the 23,000. Yes, we would lose about $5 million in general as a whole.
In general. Okay, I got you.
the target here is we need to meet those targets, and especially if we don't want our third 6 weeks ADA bring the average down. Okay.
We'll be communicating to the parents so our campuses know how to prepare.
That's coming up in the next slides, Ms. Ochoa. Thank you for that. But yes, we have a plan.
Mm-hmm. And on the slide number 9, based on TEA's school year 2021 attendance and enrollment frequently asked questions, there was an on-campus instruction. What is considered on-campus instruction? If the students receive instructional support from staff who have the capacity and expertise to provide academic support specific to the student's grade level and content area. As long as there's somebody there to offer the support to the students, they could be counted on campus. Students must receive in-person instructional support for it to be considered on-campus attendance. They have to receive some sort of instructional support. Students receiving instruction compliant with this method will be coded as on-campus learners in the LEA Student Information System, or PIEPS information system. So,
have we been doing this so far? Like for those kids that are on campus that have been coming, have we been providing that on-campus support? And have we been documenting that?
We have been providing it at different levels. Right, some teachers are better able to provide the support than others, but we have been providing it, I will say, at varied levels, Dr. Benavides, depending on the teachers, and also because this definition, right, and this formula is something different. We have started to we presented to principals. And principals are communicating with teachers that they do need to provide some more than they have been. It is not necessarily at the direct instruction level, but teachers are being told that they do need to do more than just kind of monitor the kids in the classroom.
And right now for the high school kids, just for a point of clarification for myself, for high school kids, right now, the kids are not changing classes, right? They're in a class with some teacher, a teacher,
yes.
Not
yes.
necessarily their teacher.
Right. Yes. And so to meet this definition of on-campus instruction, we would need to have more teachers on campus because as you all know, in high school, it is very different than it does have to be ELA teacher, for example, that can provide support in English language arts or in mathematics. And so that's correct that we are not providing it specifically the way the definition says here in high school, and we would need more teachers to be able to meet this definition. And at elementary, it's a lot easier because of the certification of teachers that they can teach all grades. So it's easier for teachers to provide this academic support to any student. And even, for example, a 4th grade teacher can provide academic support to a 2nd or a 5th grade student because of certification areas.
Correct. And right now, presently, have we been counting those students, like let's say elementary, because they're easier to provide the on-campus support. Have we, number one, counted them at like on campus present? Like, are they meeting the definition right now? Yes or no?
Right now, we are not coding them as on campus because we had not given teachers instruction on what level of support. So right now, because really what we were doing with the kids that are on campus is making sure that they are doing their virtual lesson, making sure that they are logging in. They have been counted as asynchronous present or asynchronous absent.
It's going to be, we're really in a really tight situation, in a very tight bind. And I think everybody realizes it because teachers have to feel that we have, number one, a uniform health and safety plan where teachers are reassured that we're taking, care of them. And then number two, that they have the reassurance that we have the highest standards of COVID safety in all our schools.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the way we present it, I mean, SB made a good point that we have to explain it to the parents. But right now, if you tell a parent that it's because we're going to lose funding, the parent is going to say, well, I really don't care about the funding. I care about my child's health. That's the most, important thing. And so would this plan, I assume, based on the numbers presented, that this plan would still allow the parents to have the option of keeping the kids if they want to keep them at home, correct?
Yes, the plan still allows, and parents do have that option. However, we're presenting this information to you as a board because it's important that you understand, right, how our schools are going to be funded. But as far as the messaging to principals and teachers, and you'll see in the plan, we're bringing kids in because kids do need to, there are some students that do need to be on campus. We do have some students that, as we all know, have had educational losses. And so we would encourage parents to bring kids, those kids that we have identified in the plan that are falling behind, because we continue to need those kids to be on campus. So the messaging to parents is, our teachers are on campus. Your child needs assistance. We are open for your child, and these are the safety precautions that we have in place. Now, as far as the teachers and the staff that is on campus, we do have many safety protocols that we have been following since our teachers first came on campus. We have cleaning, disinfecting of campuses. We have a lot of safety procedures for our teachers. So all of those safety procedures have been in place and will continue to be in place, just like the safety procedures that we have had for our students, as far as the distancing, as far as the protective equipment that we have, the masks, the face shields, the sneeze guards, extra hand sanitizing stations throughout the school, the signage throughout the school. So all of the procedures that we would continue to implement, we have been implementing for teachers and for students.
So that would fall under the highest standards of safety and
yes,
and health. What we're up against right now is the fact that in many districts, all their staff have been afforded the opportunity to get vaccinated. I know some of them may not want to, and of course that's their right. But we also have that. So I just see it's just going to be a very hard sell. How we put it out there is critical for everyone, for the parents, for the teachers, but most especially for the teachers and the parents.
Yes, we understand that, and that's why part of the plan also has to include all of the safety precautions that are in place for students and teachers, and that is something that is part of the plan that we're proposing to. I think we're going to get to it in a couple of slides, but definitely along with what we propose as far as bringing kids and staff in, also is very critical, communicating with them all of the safety procedures that we have in place, that we have been practicing as we have slowly been bringing in teachers and students. that we have these procedures in place and we're going to continue to implement them.
I just have a concern with two of them. And of course, one is being the safety and of our staff and our children. Say we have this target that we need to meet in order to get this funding. If we don't reach that target, what happens? And we did all this, and at the end, we didn't get that funding. How are these goals going to be assured that they're going to be met if we go forward with the plan? And I don't want to put people in risk and then at the end of the day not get the funding because we didn't reach the goals that the state actually mandated.
Yeah, and we cannot guarantee that that we will reach that level of students on campus. But I think the most pressing point is that we do need to have kids on campus. There are some kids that do need the support from their teachers, and that is the I guess the most important thing. Now, we may meet it, we may get the funding at the lower level. I think the most important thing is that we need to make it available for more kids to be on campus. And the way that we will do that is if teachers are on campus. If teachers are on campus, then parents will feel that it's okay to send their children to campus. But the most important thing is that we do have students in our district that do need the support of on-campus instruction. And that is our main goal, to be able to provide that so that we provide, April and May of strong instructional support for kids that might have fallen behind, whether we meet the hold harmless numbers or not. We just want to have teachers on campus so that parents feel that they can send their children to campus, especially those that need it.
Have we worked on polling our parents to see how many kids would be sent to school? More or less give us an idea.
Yeah. Recently, we have not polled parents. We do, and maybe we can go on to the next slide of how we would transition students in, Mr. Munoz.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to be transitioning now to the proposed plan to bring back and increase the number of students and staff in our on-campus instruction transition plan. Of course, the purpose of this plan is that our district aims to provide students with on-campus instruction with targeted supports to close the achievement gap. And of course, the goal would be to improve in both reading and math through intensive interventions delivered through on-campus instruction, primarily, and with a special emphasis to the students in first grade, third grade, fifth grade, 6th through 8th, and our high school students, those that are in 9th through 12th. Now, I know that the invitation won't be primarily just to those groups, right? All students will continue to have the option for in-person learning, as well they have that option to stay home, right, if they don't feel comfortable returning. Campuses, however, will be open for those students that are still having connectivity issues. And but the emphasis, of course, will be placed on bringing students back in the following identified groups. Our first grade students, these are students that were identified as struggling based in the accelerated instruction criteria. Our third grade students, those that failed their district benchmarks. Fifth grade students that failed district benchmarks. In 6th through 8th, these would be students that failed district benchmarks and are also already enrolled in System 44. It's a reading recovery intervention program that has already identified them as being at risk. And then in our high school, we have students that have failed district benchmarks, our seniors or students that are in that cohort that are at risk of not graduating, and then students needing to test for industry-based certifications. So again, the invitation has been extended to parents at the beginning of the school year that our schools were open, and they could always choose in-person instruction or on-campus instruction. This will be a special emphasis, right, that our principals and campus administration will implement to get these kids to come in. Now, when it comes to staffing, the staffing, of course, from the very beginning, we've always taken the approach of bringing in just the essential employees, making sure that we have the supports and the safety measures in place to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 in our campuses and in our district. So during the week of March 22nd to the 26th, the groups that we would gradually bring in would be the central office staff, campus administration, and our campus clerical staff. And when they do come in, their role will be to ensure that the campus and that the campus, the employee, and the student safety measures are in place to safely bring back additional students and staff. Our teachers will continue on their rotation schedule, right? Most campuses still have shifts. In some instances, they have more rotations than others, but when the teachers do come in that rotation schedule, they will start setting up their classrooms for in-person instruction. And when on campus, teachers will continue to teach virtually and provide in-person instructional support to the students that are there so that we can then code them as on-campus present. And the principals will also have the opportunity to bring back any additional staff that they need necessary to safeguard the safety of the students and also meet the requirements to operate their campuses. During the week of March 28th through April 2nd, all other campus professional staff, not including teachers, would be brought back so they could prepare resources and instructional materials for the teachers. And then teachers would continue on their rotation schedule during that week. And just like the previous group, they will be setting up their classrooms for in-person instruction. And then they will be providing those interventions to those students that are on campus so that, again, they can be coded as on-campus present. And principals will still have that option to bring in any additional staff necessary, right, to implement the instructional and operational plans of their campuses. And then on the week of April the 5th, all staff would return. And at that point in time, teachers would teach from their classrooms. The instructional models would be, of course, dependent on the response from the community. Our goal is to teach concurrently, but if possible, they can implement the split grouping where teachers could teach the students that are on campus with in-person instruction, and some teachers can continue teaching those that are virtually, right? The goal is to be effective and intentional when it comes to instruction. So that is the plan that we're proposing. Of course, this is a recommended plan. We're open to recommendations and your expertise in how to carry this out and roll it out in a safe and organized and orderly manner.
Can we continue with the rest of the plan as far as the mitigation practices?
Yes, Dr. Science. Mr. Villarreal did analyze the March 4th public health planning guidance, and he compared it to our district's reopening plan that, of course, the campus, staff, and the student safety plans. So, Mr. Villarreal, would you like to mention, sir, what was it that you found when you did that analysis?
Sure. Thank you. So thank you again, Board President, members of the board, Dr. Science, and all virtual members. So we went over, we did go over the March 4th public health planning guidance delivered to us by TEA. If you can see on the left side, you have what TEA is recommending. And on the right side, you have what we are currently practicing in brief, right? There's a lot more detail to this safety plan than what you're seeing there. And I believe we have brought the safety plan over for your all's approval a time back. And if need be, we can bring it back again. So depicting the March 4th TA planning guidelines, again, are the mitigating factors for COVID-19. And what La Jolla SD has been doing and will continue to do to align with the guidelines set forth, of course, by our local, state, and federal agencies and guidelines to best meet the needs of students, teachers, staff, and visiting community members. The current slide that you see on the screen depicts guidance on notifications that address test confirmed COVID cases, and of course, safety measures, all while taking the privacy of our students, staff, and community members in mind. Next slide, 14, depicts all health, hygiene guidance practices set forth by the state. And of course, La Jolla ISD's safety practices to include inspecting, immediately sanitizing, immediately all affected areas, and of course, maintaining and upkeeping not only our major touch points in the buildings, but filters and exhaust systems also, which will allow for the safest conditions that we can possibly offer for all our students, staff, and community members. The next slide, slide 15, also depicts safety, sanitizing of all affected areas, and communication with and all between departments as well. Slide 16, excuse me, got a little ahead of myself. Slide 16, okay. Slide 16 communicates methods and practices for students, staff, and visitors in all La Jolla ISD buildings, and communication as well, continued communication with our staff, our custodial staff, our maintenance staff, our compliance staff, and of course, all administrators in the buildings are and made aware as well, have been made aware. And finally, slide 17, if you may, Mr. Munoz, or I can share on the final slide. So slide 17 specifically talks about our transportation guidelines, what TEA put forth, and what La Jolla ISD has been doing and will continue to do. And in brief, we have been following all the guidelines set forth and surpassing them. We also have a safety plan in place for our buses, which we address on a daily basis. We sanitize before we pick up students. We sanitize after we drop off students. Before students and staff members or bus drivers get in the buses, they're also required to follow sanitizing procedures with safety sanitizing dispensers that have been implemented in every bus as well. And are there any questions?
Mr. Villarreal, I think you should go back to page 16, just to emphasize the use of the masks, because right now that's a big issue across the across the state.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
I think that we need to emphasize what the district will be doing, because we have not discussed that, and there are other people, especially that are joining us, and
sure,
we need to know where we stand as a district.
So the state mandated a removal of masks, and La Jolla ISD is not going to do that. We're not going to remove our masks. We're still complying with our own local guidelines, and all members of our community are going to be required and have been required. We'll be enforcing the wearing face mask at all times in our buildings and in our properties. In the lower grade levels, teachers are encouraged to wear their face shield instead of face masks. And this is like pre-K through second, to deliver developmentally appropriate or age appropriate instruction for students that might need to see the lips and the mouth. But that is the only exception to the rule. And while eating in the lunch area as well, everybody is in the building wearing a mask, except in the cafeteria areas while eating. And of course, in the cafeterias, we will follow the CDC guidelines and recommendations to follow distancing while we're not wearing our masks, just like we would in a restaurant.
Yeah. And just a point of clarification, last week when the governor's orders were released on the issue of face masks, we did put out a communication to all our staff, letting them know that in our district, we would continue to uphold the practice of wearing masks in all district facilities. So just to be sure, because initially, I think there might have been, but I think that communication went out on that day or maybe the next day. But our staff did get a written communication on the district's rule regarding mask wearing.
And that's very good, Dr. Science, but we need to reiterate it every chance.
Oh, yes, definitely. And we will, along with this plan.
Yeah.
I'd like to take it a step further. Will the campuses be making a decision how their lunchtime will look like? And if so, will it be a district decision?
As it's written.
We will provide guidance. We will provide guidance to the principals, and the guidance so far for the staff that have been on there is that staff should not congregate to eat together in the lounge. Some principals, for example, have spread out, like, for example, their microwave to different areas, or have added additional microwaves so that people can warm up and not be in the same room. And then to eat in, like in a separate classroom, not in the regular teacher's lunchroom.
Again, I'm just going to reiterate that we have to be very careful how this is presented to our community, because I don't want them to feel that we are putting our teachers or our students at risk for $5 million. I don't want that.
No.
Because we've known all along that the kids were falling behind. There was a COVID slide. There was a summer slide, before school started. And now this year, there's a whole year's slide. And I'm just very worried about how it's going to be presented, because I don't want to be accused of putting people's safety in jeopardy because of $5 million. I know the importance of the funding. I understand that. I know the importance of kids coming back to school. I understand. But because our district has been a little lax in the promoting of kids coming back, we're going to have a harder situation. And not only kids, but staff. And so we're going to have a harder situation, selling it and getting everybody on board.
Mm-hmm.
And so I may sound like a broken record, but I want to reiterate it, because if we're not careful, just like other things have gotten out and then we have to backtrack, the same thing is going to happen with this.
And one of the things that we have continuously communicated is with principals and teachers that for their kids that either do not have internet access initially, or have had difficulty either logging in or just not logging in, for them to offer on-campus instruction. And that continues to be the message, that if there are kids out there that need to come on campus, we want them to be on campus. But we also need teachers to be on campus.
Yeah, I think that if we perhaps have done a better job of following up, and I discussed this with you, Dr. Science, of following up with the students that were not logging in, and making sure that we had follow-up conferences with parents, and that there would be a consequence, then we would have more students logging in. When students saw, especially the high schools and those of you that have kids, when students saw that there was not a major consequence for not logging in, I think that we perpetuated the problem and we didn't address it. And now we're at these percentages.
Yes. Teachers have continuously and principals have continuously maintained contact with their parents for their kids that are not logging in. That is something that we know that teachers and counselors do almost on a daily basis, is touch base with parents of kids that are not logging in, and encouraging, trying to help the parents find ways of helping them monitor kids. So that is a constant thing that our teachers and our counselors and our principals are doing, is working with parents on getting kids to log into their lessons or their classes.
But would you agree with me, Dr. Science, that if that was the case, we would have a higher percentage of students coming if we had been enforcing some type of guidelines for the kids that weren't logging in?
It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell because when we speak to parents, especially those persistent, phone calls that campuses do need to make, parents do talk about the safety issues. And what we can do is we can continue to talk to parents and talk about all of the safety protocols. And so I know that safety is probably the number one reason that parents continue to maybe not want to send their students on campus. And then the information and feedback that we do get from parents is when my child's teacher is on campus, I will send them to campus. And so that is why one of the parts of this plan is that we want teachers to be on campus, and we know that once teachers are on campus, then it will follow that kids will begin to come on campus. And that is one of the things that we hear a lot from parents is when their teachers on campus, my kids will be on campus too.
Hey, Dr. Science, real quick, it's because I didn't get I don't know if my internet was off, but it went out. I didn't get a clear answer on the polling of the parents. Have we polled the parents before?
No, we have not polled the parents, Mr. Cantu, but what teachers and principals do is they constantly call parents to encourage their kids to come on campus. But as just an open survey, no, it is done teachers with their own classroom of kids to encourage kids that they feel need to be on campus to come on campus.
I think it would be a good idea. That way we're able to gather some data and more or less have a preliminary numbers to see how many kids.
Yes, thank you.
I agree with that, Dr. Science, because if I'm not mistaken, we did have some parents when you did the last polling that actually wanted to send their kids to school. I don't know if roughly you can remember that percentage, or I know you're not prepared for that, but I know that some parents were actually, and you're talking months ago.
Yes, I don't want to say the wrong number, but I think it was about somewhere around like 30%. It was quite a few. I mean, it was more parents than what we had thought might want to be in school that had said that they were. But even more so, what we are, feedback that we are getting is what I was just talking about, is that if the teacher's not on campus, the parents are not going to send their child if the teacher's not on campus. And so what we are hearing is, if the teacher is on campus, then I will send my child to school.
Dr. Science, I know you said we haven't polled the parents or an updated poll, but we did get a survey as a parent as to if we would be sending our kids back for testing. I'm just wondering if we have those results, and maybe that, I mean, I know it's different if they're going to send to testing rather than for instruction, but maybe that would also give us an idea right now, or if parents are not even going to send them for testing, they might not send them for instruction. Do we have the results of that? I know I filled out a survey in reference to sending my child back to test for the STAR test.
Dr. Science and board members, I think that if the parents were interested in having send their children back, they would have already done so, right? Because our schools are open. I know initially we had a higher percentage of parents that wanted to send their kids back, but once the children went and saw the instructional design that we had in place, many of them chose to stay home, right? They said, if it's just virtual and it's just remote, I'd rather keep my child at home. So we will have to modify our instructional practices to encourage, and of course, right, continue implementing the safety protocols that we have in place with Fidelity to encourage parents to send their kids home. When it comes to testing, I know that in speaking to Dr. Villarreal, the state level completion rate for TELPAS as of last week was close to 50%. At the district level, we were in the 20s, right? So we do have a lot of catching up to do when it comes to testing. So great points and great recommendations in regards to how we present it to the community. Of course, we want to make sure that safety is at the highest priority, and that is what, and that we promote that to our parents and to our community as primarily. But of course, there's academic concerns as well that need to be considered. And that's of course, how we will be presenting it to the community.
And in line with those academic concerns, and I don't know, maybe you all presented this prior to me coming on the board, and I may be talking out of line, but if I am, excuse me, just let me know. What are the consequences? Are there, because TEA outlined some guidelines that a district could enforce if students were not logging in. So what are the consequences for elementary? What are the consequences for middle school? What are the consequences for high school? Has that been presented to the board? Have those been approved as guidelines? Is it uniform? Does everyone know about it? What the consequence is? Because we can call parents and teachers can call and teachers can call. But if nothing is written and then followed, for example, I'm going to go back to when I was an assistant principal. If you're tardy once, you get a warning. If you're tardy twice, you get this, and 3 times you're going to be counted 1 absence. What are the consequences for kids not logging in? And do we have them spelled out by, not necessarily by grade level, but by elementary, middle, and high? Because this would help enforce having some of those kids, definitely, if they're not logging in, they are behind. So, and those are the ones we want to bring back. So has that been presented to the board?
I'm not sure if it's been
No.
presented to the board in the past, Dr. Benavides, but I know that the executive directors are having conferences with principals right now. We are meeting with parents where we are providing all the parents with a progress report right now as to where their children are at this time of the year. For those kids that are on pace, we're letting them know, right? Your child is on pace and he's ready to move on to the next grade level. Those that are not, that are struggling, we do have some tiered supports, right? Of course, we're offering wraparound services, counseling, academic supports, technology supports to make sure that their kids are engaged and they're on pace to prevent that slide getting larger, right? The gap getting bigger. And amongst those, right, we do have, we're offering our parents to, we're encouraging those parents of those students that are at risk to choose in-person learning, right? Because I think that would mitigate that slide or that gap from getting any bigger. We are also offering optional extended day and then optional extended year, right? As support services for those students. But, and of course, I know through our student services department, they did share those truancy protocols with the principals. They are still in place. And this year, though, because students don't necessarily have to be logged in to be counted present, because they can be counted present asynchronously, right? Very few of them have fallen into the criteria of being coded as truants.
I would like then.
Thank you, Mr. Munoz.
Yeah, thank you. For our next board meeting, if we could have those consequences spelled out so that our community knows what the consequences are when kids do not log in, and like I said, for elementary, middle, and high. And maybe I missed it, but Ms. Ochoa, you asked a good question about the lunch. How are you going to plan for the duty-free lunch for teachers? And how are you going to accommodate how many? Because the feedback that I've been given, and it's 2 elementary campuses. In one elementary campus, I understand that people are in the lounge. They don't wear a mask. There's more than 10. There's no social distancing. In another, I understand that they have more than, I don't know what the regulation is in the number of kids that should be in a classroom, but that there's, and maybe 14 is okay. I don't know, but I've been told that there's more kids than there should be in a classroom. So do we have all that spelled out so that people know that we definitely are taking the steps to keep everyone safe?
Yes, we do have those things spelled out. And in an instance when we do get a report, for example, the teachers are eating together in a lounge, we do we do go, we check in with the principal, we have a conversation with the principal, and we address any area that is not being implemented according to the plan. As of now, TA does not have a specific number of students per classroom. Initially, when the pandemic broke out, they did have number of kids per square footage in a classroom. Those guidances are not, they are not going by those guidances. What they do ask is that students are spaced out as much as possible, and that when possible, that districts have certain barriers between desks, which we do have. We have the sneeze guard at every desk. We do have the desks spaced apart. And so the procedures that we have in place right now are in compliance with TEA and CDC guidelines. We have made adjustments, just like the TA guidance has been adjusted and changed. We have worked on keeping up with the adjustments also. But I do want to say that anytime that we know that one of our precautions is not being followed, we do visit with the campus and we do correct the situation.
And the way the lunch schedule is planned out, Dr. Benavides, Ms. Ochoa, the plan calls for students to eat in their classrooms, not in the cafeteria, because in the event that there is a positive case, right, we limit the amount of students that were exposed to that student. So the students eat in the classrooms to free up the teachers, though. Well, when the students are eating, of course, the teacher is there in the classroom to safeguard their safety. To free up the teacher, though, once they finish, students do have an asynchronous period where they work on their own. For example, like they have a dear time. So the kids work independently, and there are people on duty in the hallway monitoring the students as they work independently. And that way the teacher is freed up to go have their duty-free lunch.
So will the students be able to go out and play in the playground? I know that I've traveled through other districts and I do see kids out having some type of recess.
Initially, Ms. Ochoa, I know that our plan did not call for students not to be in common areas, right, in close proximity to each other. I know that we can, the reopening plan is not written in stone, and as guidance from TEA and CDC and even OSHA have been released and given, we've updated the reopening plan. So if that is an option, if we're able to do that based on the staff that we have and the building in itself, yes, ma'am, we will be able to do that.
Mr. Munoz, how about PE or in middle school and secondary electives? Are those, or would they be having that?
Our students right now, Dr. Cantu, they do have PE, but again, it's been virtual, right? Students stay in their classrooms and they go through their virtual lessons with their coaches, health and PE. But again, we will revisit the guidance.
But if they report to campus?
I'm sorry, Dr. Cantu?
I'm asking for the students that choose to return to campus.
As it is right now, even those students were getting their PE virtually and health, right? But as we'll revisit the CDC guidelines and TA guidelines when it comes to that, and see what adjustments we can do to a reopening plan to be able to allow that to happen.
Thank you, Mr. Munoz. I do want to say that in our district, we do have some campuses where they have large numbers of students that have been coming for on-campus instruction and teachers also. And in these campuses, the principals have done exceptional jobs of following all of the safety procedures. And the kids have been kept safe as well as the teachers. And so we have several schools that have most of their teachers already, just because the kids are coming in, their teachers have been coming in, and things have worked really, really well. And I want to say in the district as a whole, the number, because we do track positive cases, and if the cases were as a result of community or family involvement or on campus, but the number of cases, positive COVID cases that result from contact in our buildings has been very, very low. And that is because our administrators have placed a lot of emphasis on the safety precautions that we have. And so for the kids that have been on campus and the teachers that have been on campus, they have been safe. And that is the feedback that we have gotten from teachers. We also have feedback from teachers because we do have teachers alternating in different schools. They come 1 week and they're off 1 week. They do see that on the days that teachers or the weeks that teachers are on campus teaching, that their kids do better. And so this whole push for wanting to have more kids on campus is not for $5 million. It is because kids need to be on campus. Our schools are safe. We have many safety procedures, as Mr. Rick Villarreal outlined, and even more that are on here. I think we have done a very good job of protecting our teachers with on-site COVID-19 testing, as well as offering vaccines. And we're going to continue to do that as we're going to present in our next item. So I think that our district has done an exceptional job of protecting our teachers and the students that have been on campus. But the bottom line is that kids need to be in school. The best place for kids is to be on campus, and we have all of the safety measures in place to keep them safe.
And I think, Dr. Saenz, that nobody is saying that, it's just.
Thank you, Ms. Ochoa.
But I also acknowledge too, Dr. Benavides, in how we are going to sell this to our community and our staff, because honestly, I mean, it does sound like it's all about the money, and it's not. I mean, there's more to it.
No, it is not about the money. It's about wanting to have our kids in school. And so thank you for your point, Ms. Ochoa, and it's well taken. The next item that we do have on is the La Jolla ISD vaccination plan, and I think Chief is here to talk about that.
Dr. Saenz, I'm sorry,
Yes.
Really quickly before we move on, I just had one question going back to the identified groups. I know that of all the testing grade levels, 4th grade was omitted. I'm just wondering why we're not, 4th grade is not a targeted group.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for making that point, Dr. Cantuan. We will eventually add grades, right? This is just a starting point, but also any child whose parent wants them to be in school, no matter what grade, even if it's not one of these grades, they are welcome to be in our school. And we do have teachers, at other levels, 4th grade teachers that already do have their kids on campus because the teachers have communicated to parents that they want their kids on campus. And so even though we have these grade levels here, our schools continue to be open to any student in any grade level.
Okay, yeah, no, and I understood that. I was just, since it's the only testing grade level that wasn't on there, I was just curious.
Yeah, this is a starting point, and we want to see how many of these kids come. And then we do plan to identify other grades to come in. Okay. We just wanted to have a certain number of grades that we actually invited to come in like this, so that we could kind of continue to monitor the numbers that are on campus.
Yes, and I saw, the early childhood grades are, well, I guess eventually. I just, I don't know, I thought it was odd that 3rd through 12 was all on there except for 4th. I was just wondering why that was, but yes, I know that it's open to anybody.
Thank you, Dr. Canton.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. As you all know, since early January, David, Nacenciano, and myself, we've been working with the county. We partnered with the county early in January to start having clinics. And since then, we have had 5 clinics. And our job has to try to give our staff an opportunity to get vaccinated, as a lot of them wanted the vaccine. So in the 5 clinics, we were able to guesstimate that we vaccinated over 1,000 employees. And a lot of them either qualified because they were COVID-19 testers, they were 65 and over, they were 18 and over and had underlying conditions. Some of them were nurses, and others we were able to manage to get them in there because at the end of the vaccination clinic day, sometimes we had vaccines left over and we were able to contact people and get them in there. So it got to the point where we could not meet any of the criteria to try to get more employees in. But fortunately enough for us, the President of the United States and the Governor of Texas made a decision on March 2nd that now all staff at campuses could be eligible in the groups to get the vaccine right now. Problem was that there was not a lot of vaccines available. So having that understanding, we reached out to the county immediately to ask them to be bold and courageous and just do a closed pot. But we were not able to get all 1,000 vaccines, but we were able to get a commitment from them for this next clinic, which is tomorrow. They're giving us 300 vaccines for our staff. So they told us these are for your staff. You guys figure it out how you guys want to distribute the vaccines to your staff. So we wanted to create an orderly fashion and something that was reasonable so that we can start distributing these vaccines to our staff. So we came up with what we call the La Jolla ISD COVID-19 vaccination allocation plan for staff. During this process that we developed this plan, we were able to reach out to DHR Renaissance in Edinburgh on Thursday of last week in the evening. And we are extremely grateful that DHR committed to assist us as well. Yesterday, they gave us 972 bracelets for our staff. So their process is a little bit different. Their vaccination plan is that we're going to give our staff the bracelets, and they're going to have to go to DHR starting this coming Wednesday. So we're going to be able to vaccinate 160 plus staff members on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Friday, on Sunday, on Monday, and Tuesday until we complete our 972 vaccines at DHR. And for the ones at the county, we're going to start tomorrow. We also got commitment from HEB. One of our nurses at one of our elementaries at Peña Elementary was able to make contact with HEB Pharmacy. And HEB has also committed 100 vaccines. And we're going to do a closed pot vaccination clinic at Peña Elementary on Friday. So having all of these vaccines come together, we're on a waiting list with Dr. Javier Sáenz. I just talked to him a little while ago. He's also asking for more vaccines. As soon as he gets them, he's also going to get us in his program. So we're on the waiting list. So we have all of these vaccines, so we needed to come up with a plan. So the plan is right before you. We've identified 5 groups in the district. The first group are what we call the employees that physically come on campus on a daily basis. We also included the special ed teachers in this group because a lot of the students that are in the special ed program remove their masks, they don't have it on. So we included the teachers that are in the special ed program, even though they don't come on a daily basis. So everybody in group 1 is going to be taken care of first. So the first 300 doses plus the 100 doses at Peña Elementary are going to go to the group 1 individuals. And we asked all the principals to give us a list of all the employees that fall under group 1. So they gave us that list. We also asked them to give us a list of individuals that fall under group 2. And this is staff that has physically been on campus on a rotation basis. So we have that number. With the 972 doses from DHR, we believe that we're going to be able to take care of a lot of the people in group 2. Group 3 is a staff that is required to come in physically so that they can assist in helping with testing, okay? Group 4 are all employees that physically report to work, but do not have direct contact with students. This is clerical staff, central office staff, maintenance, etc. Group 5 are all employees, not in groups 1, 2, or 3, or 4, basically the ones that have stayed home all this time. In group 1, we also included CNS staff, transportation staff, okay? So we this morning, we've already have been able to identify everybody that's in group 1. Today, all of the campuses that gave us names of the group 1 individuals are going to be getting their bracelets so that they can send their staff tomorrow to the clinic here at the Lincoln Building to get their vaccine. Tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow morning, we are planning a distribution of the bracelets for the DHR program. So what we're gonna do today, the rest of the day this afternoon, number one, we're gonna meet with the principals to let them know about the process. We have a meeting with them at 2. Then the emergency management office and our office is going to start working on putting all those bracelets in packets so that tomorrow the principals can go by and pick up their packets and the bracelets, and then they can start calling their staff in so that they can get their bracelets. The bracelets at DHR, the bracelets at Hidalgo County, the bracelets with HEB, the bracelets that we're gonna get with Dr. Javier Sáenz, and other bracelets that we're going to get from HEB, and we're already working with Walgreens as well, is gonna be for staff only. The community is still encouraged to come and get a bracelet at the community bracelet distribution points that we're having. And the other thing that we also want to remind the staff is that we strongly encourage you that if you get offered a vaccine through your medical provider, through your doctor, through your pharmacy, please take it. It would help us get everybody vaccinated as fast as we can. So that is the plan. That is what we have. That is the best thing that we could have done because DHR and the county says, here are the vaccines. You guys figure out how you guys want to do it. We felt that this was the best plan. We met with a crisis team. We met with the principals. We explained why we were doing this. And we are extremely comfortable and confident that this is going to be the best way to do it so that we can get everybody vaccinated in an orderly fashion manner. So having said that, I do want to acknowledge a couple of people that have helped us since January 7th. Number one, our custodial department, our maintenance department, our police department, campus principals, but mainly our nurses. It's on a volunteer basis. Our district nurses have been wonderful. They're out there, vaccinated over 5,000 people already, knowing that they don't know if people have COVID or not. So we're very grateful for them. RGV VOTEC, they've sent nurses when we're in time of need. They sent some nurses under the owner, Mr. Macias, has been very grateful. So we want to thank him. Alton Fire Department, they have 5 firefighters that come as injectors and they help us out. And then the city of La Jolla with the fire department. So again, on behalf of everybody that's getting the vaccines, I mean, you all seen them, extremely happy that they're getting the vaccine. So we're grateful to the board and the administration for the support they continue to give us in providing this service to our community.
Thank you, Chief Gonzalez.
I just wanted to say thank you, Chief, and thank you to you as well, Dr. Sáenz, and to all the staff. I know that you'll probably be able to mention, Chief did a good job of mentioning some, but there's so many out there behind the scenes that the community doesn't know of, that we don't know of. But I want to thank you. You know, it was a hard 2020, and I know this board can agree. And it's been hard to lead it through there. And I think we've done an excellent job, and we've kept the majority of our staff on the payroll and the majority of our kids and staff as much as we can at home. You know, things do change. The state changes every day, and you have to abide by that. So muchas gracias por todo lo que ha hecho, Dr. Sáenz, to yourself and everyone else that you might mention for us. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Salinas. And I do want to thank Chief Gonzalez and David Nacenciano. They have worked really, really hard contacting as many providers as we can. And just this week with DHR, HEB, and Hidalgo County, we will be able to give our staff over 1,300 vaccines. And so I think that's amazing. So thank you so much, Chief Gonzalez. And of course, we would not be able to do it with the support of you, our Board of Trustees. So thank you, Board of Trustees, for supporting us through this very difficult year. I think that working together, we have all done a good job of keeping our teachers safe. And a message to our teachers, yes, we have these vaccine clinics, and we're going to continue to work as hard as we can until everyone in our district that wants a vaccine gets a vaccine, because the safety of our teachers and all of our staff is the most important thing. And so we're going to continue to keep our teachers safe, to keep all our staff safe, and we'll continue to look for more vaccines. But I do want to say a very special thank you to all our Board of Trustees for all of the support that you all have provided through this pandemic. Thank you all.
I would like just to add that I just want to thank everybody that we've partnered with, our county, our DHR, for entrusting our district. And honestly, the reason they entrust our district is because how well planned everything goes every time we have a clinic, every time we show up and everything's running smoothly. And our true heroes is like the Chief said, you know, our nurses and everybody behind the scenes that make this happen. And I just feel that every week we have something going on in our district. And because all these entities are partnered with us because they entrust us to do administer these vaccines as quickly, as safely, and as smooth as possible. And I think as a district chief and David, everybody's done an amazing job. And I commend each and every one of you for taking your time and volunteering your time, making sure that our clinics are successful.
Thank you, Mr. Cantu.
On that, Chief, I just had one question. Based on all the clinics that we've had so far, about how many staff members already got an estimate? How many already got a vaccine?
So I was thinking about that yesterday with David, and we're talking close to over 1,300 staff members that have gotten the vaccine. That's just through our clinics here at the district. Now we know of other employees that have gone out to their own providers. You know, looking at the numbers and talking to the DHR, the county, and talking to Dr. Science, and we believe that by May, and I say we because I don't know you, I know you all know that we are only one of two hubs in Precinct 3 that helps with the vaccines. But we believe that by May, everybody that wants to be vaccinated will be vaccinated. And then after that, we're just going to try to encourage everybody to get vaccinated. So we're looking at, I told David, by the end of next week, we should have at least 65% of our staff vaccinated. And that's above the number at the national level and at the state level. The state level is at 48, 49% right now.
And the reason I was asking is because of the fact that since I know we've been very successful at a lot of staff members getting it, and then if we're going to get 1,000, which you said 972 plus the 300 from the county, you know, that is another 1,200. I just didn't know what the percentage would be between now and April 5th, which is the date that we're pushing for the teachers to start. So, and I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I don't know if perhaps pushing it another week till April the 12th to give more people so that they feel that we're giving them more time. The ideal is to have everybody vaccinated, but I know it's not going to be possible. But I just want them to see that we're making every effort to get as many people vaccinated as possible. And that's the reason I suggested, you know, contacting Dr. Science and contacting whoever you needed to contact. Yes. So that you would get, you know, 100 here, 100 there, and they add up quickly, and they have. And so that's very, very good. So I was just wondering, I don't know how the rest of the board members feel, but, you know, perhaps buying another week so that people can feel like they're giving us time for us to get our vaccine and they're not rushing us into, you know, I know the 6 weeks starts on the 19th, and I recognize the importance that kids need to be in school. If anybody does, I do, you know, with all my years experience, I definitely recognize that kids need to be in school. That is not the issue. But I also want people to feel safe. And while I commend the facilities department and the police department and everyone that has worked hard to ensure that all these safety measures are in place, our teachers who are in the forefront, they need to feel safe. and they need to feel protected. And I feel very strongly about this.
Thank you, Dr. Benavides.
Okay, Dr. Science, I guess we started off and then we kind of trickled down and we took the items as everybody was talking.
Yes.
So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 1:29. Thank you so much.